Good morning and welcome to the Morning Commute with Hopi living in the city. It is a cool 87 degrees right now, and we have some clouds. I'm hoping we might get some moisture today. Hope everyone's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed today, ready to get the day going. I got my first cup of joe here. I was scooping around a little this morning, and so I didn't have time to have my first cup before I left the house. So this is my first cup on the go. I came out this morning and I thought, oh man, the sky looks beautiful. The sun was barely starting to come out, and it had a very nice hue. And I said, self, this is gonna be a good day. It's almost the weekend. It's almost Father's Day. The missus made me a breakfast sandwich. I packed me a lunch from last night's leftovers. So yeah, it's gonna be good. So let's sit back and relax, and let's see what's on the radio today.
From the William T. Grant Foundation, supporting towns.
Pretty high fatality rate when it comes to commercial traffic at weights of 80,000 pounds. And with very few troopers on the road, our thought process is that we didn't want to add more weight to trucks with less folks to inspect those trucks.
Another policy would allow states to increase truck weights, which he warns against because not all bridges can hold the weight. Heidi Hommel, KTAR News.
And by the way, coming up in less than 10 minutes from right now, we're going to talk to Trooper Hawkins about his meetings in D.C. about this issue. KTAR Eyes on Immigration. The controversial Secure the Border Act will be on your November ballot. There are some community members aren't happy about it. Joseph Garcia with the nonprofit Chicanos por la Casa told Outspoken with Bruce and Gatos it'll raise fears of racial profiling due to its complexity.
A ballot initiative can't talk about more than one thing, and this one focuses on several things, including fentanyl and so forth, and services and immigration. There are a lot of things in there.
Republican supporters say there are measures built in to prevent racial profiling.
Arizona votes 2024. AARP Arizona asked voters over the age of 50 about their main concerns during this election year. Pollster Bob Ward with Fabrizzo Ward says a surprising finding is Donald Trump gets more support when it comes to Social Security funding.
And I think that is an interesting finding, and I think it's a surprising finding, and it's something that the Biden campaign should is a bit of a wake-up call.
He adds Donald Trump beats out President Biden by 33 points on economic issues overall, such as on inflation, the job market, and government spending. Another concern for older voters is child care support.
By the way, the First Lady's coming to town again. She'll be in Phoenix this Saturday. The Biden campaign says Dr. Jill Biden will be taking part in an event to appeal to older voters. Details as far as time and location haven't been provided yet.
Migraines can be debilitating and interfere with so many parts of your life. Now a new study shows if you think you got a bad night's sleep, it could be a sign a migraine is coming on. Phoenix headache neurologist Dr. Kenny Knievel with Barrow Neurological Institute says learning about trends like this could help you predict when you're about to get a migraine and make it easier to prepare.
KTAR News Time is 5:36. I don't know about you, but sharing the road with these gigantic big rigs, and some of them pulling more than one trailer, makes me a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
And now they're going to put more weight in them, possibly. We're going to talk to that DPS trooper from Arizona about it coming up in just a minute.
Yeah, but he's hearing from people in Congress about whether they're going to raise those weight limits. Right now, let's check traffic with John Roller in the Valley Chevy Dealers Traffic Center.
All right, thank you, Jim and Jamie. Speaking of truckers, we want to give the heads up to the truckers that we have a major closure, and it is a major thoroughfare for truckers trying to get to Las Vegas. US 60 closed in both directions this morning. just south of Wickenburg. This is going to be milepost 113 all the way down to Highway 74, and it is causing heavy delays for those folks trying to get to Vegas. So if you are getting this report and you're trying to get north on the 60, you may want to think about 10 over to the 60, then north into Wickenburg, and then you can catch up to the 93, or just stay north on 17. You can either go through Prescott or catch the 40 through Flagstaff, but nevertheless going to tack on some extra time this morning. We'll keep an eye out for any updates on the closure. John Roller, KTAR News.
Sunny and 1 at 11 today. An excessive heat warning now through Sunday night. Right now it is 84 degrees in Paradise Valley. Weather brought to you by Howard Air. Whether replace or repair, call Howard Air.
Tune into The Truth About Money with Bruce Weinstein and Tim Travis.
We hand select each and every security in the portfolio, as opposed to kind of the more cookie cutter approaches that a lot of the larger firms will take.
Understand challenges facing today's retirees.
They tell us what their wishes and their goals are. We create the plan.
Tune into The Truth About Money, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KTAR News.
Summer is here, and it's time for backyard barbecues, melting popsicles, and yes, epic cannonballs. Nate here, owner of Blue Sky Pest Control. And unfortunately, increasing temperatures mean increasing pest activity. Don't let bugs ruin your summer fun. Call 602-BLUE-SKY and receive $50 off your initial service when jumping onto any Blue Sky 365 Pest Control program. Better technicians, better service. That's Blue Sky Pest Control.
Okay, Dad, I'm ready to take my car in for its first oil change since I got my license.
Which has held power for the past 11 years. Polls predict Machado would crush Maduro in a free election. So, in its most brazen maneuver, his regime has banned her from running for president. Even so, Machado is drawing huge crowds as she barnstorms across Venezuela to drum up votes for Edmundo Gonzalez. He's a former diplomat who is running for president in her place. Machado's endorsement has suddenly turned Gonzalez into the frontrunner in the July 28 election.
Tomamos la decisión familiar de dar un paso al frente por Venezuela.
Not surprisingly, the regime is now targeting Gonzalez. Last month, the National Electoral Council, which answers to Maduro, unveiled a presidential ballot that critics say is deliberately designed to confuse voters. Maduro, who has been nominated by 13 pro-government parties, appears on the voting card 13 times. By contrast, Gonzalez is almost camouflaged among a crowd of faces in the middle of the ballot. The opposition has responded with a voter education campaign that includes this jingle. In it, the singer explains that to find Gonzalez on the ballot, go 5 Maduros across and 1 down, as if navigating a crossword puzzle. As for Maduro, his rallies have been smaller. At this one, the burly president tried to crowd surf, but without a very big crowd, his bodyguards had to hold Maduro up. Meanwhile, authorities are cracking down on anyone propping up the opposition. They have closed 3 hotels where Machado has stayed. They've confiscated sound systems used at her rallies. They even impounded the outboard motor of the boat captain who took her across the Apure River. However, such skullduggery has turned Machado into a kind of heroine while galvanizing the opposition. For example, in the village of Corroso Pando, Machado's team stopped for breakfast at this roadside restaurant. Just a half hour later, tax authorities swooped in to close it down. It was the first time in my life the tax agency ever came here, says proprietor Corina Hernandez in a phone interview. But once again, the chicanery backfired. Hernandez set up her stove outdoors under a shade tree. And as word of the raid spread, she received a flood of orders from outraged Venezuelans. They tried to do us harm, she says, but it turned out to be a blessing. For NPR News, I'm John Otis.
This is NPR News.
And this is Morning Edition here on KJZZ at 17 minutes before 6 o'clock. We'll have the Marketplace Morning Report in about 10 minutes. Across the country, gay bars, often a fixture of queer nightlife, have shuttered at an alarming pace, down around 45% between 2002 and 2023. But the closing of gay bars is prompting some to reimagine queer nightlife. We'll hear about that and all the day's business news and Marketplace coming up.
Troll this morning.
President Biden is in southern Italy for a summit of the G7 world leaders. He'll spend much of today in sessions focusing on Africa and climate change. All of our top stories just 15 minutes away. For more news, go to KTAR.com or the KTAR News app.
Yeah, that fire we just told you about is closing a major thoroughfare in and out of the valley. Let's head over to John Woller now, live in the Valley Chevy Dealers Traffic Center.
Right, Jamie. Full closure, US 60. This is going to be south of Wickenburg, milepost 113, all the way down to State Route 74. I just saw a tweet from ADOT. No estimated time of reopening this roadway. This is a tough piece of news for truckers in that area. Give yourself some extra time for alternates. Here in town, it's been quiet for most of the hour. We do have our first crash on a surface street this morning. It's involving a bicycle over at 7th Avenue and Dunlap. John Roller, KTAR News.
Expecting a high today of 111. Our excessive heat warning has been extended now through Sunday at 8 p.m. And by the way, we have a slight chance of rain later in the day. Your weather is brought to you by Howard Air. Weather repair or replace or repair, call Howard Air.
At 5:44, we've been telling you about the possibility of bigger, heavier trucks on our roads this morning. At least one Arizona state trooper is now sounding the alarm, trying to get people in Washington to listen about how it would make your ride more dangerous.
And Jeffrey Hawkins, the current president of the Arizona State Troopers Association, joins us now on Arizona's Morning News. So what exactly are we talking about by bigger trucks, and why are they so much more dangerous?
Well, thank you for having me on. And bigger trucks, we're talking 91,000 pounds. Currently, the trucks are allotted at 80,000 pounds. The concerns that we brought here to Washington, D.C. was the fact that we have 2,084 bridges that are either a fair or a poor rating when it deals with that kind of weight. We thought that was a big concern to bring, and the cost that it would take to bring those bridges into compliance is almost a $500 million for us to be able to compensate for that. So bigger weights, longer stopping distances. We just, as an association, thought that it was time for us to work with the coalition to try to bring the news to our legislators here in D.C.
You know, I didn't even think about the bridges. I was just thinking about the extra weight tearing up the roads and the extra braking time needed. But you met with members of Congress yesterday. How did that go? Are they hearing what you're saying?
They were very thankful that we took the time to come and speak with them and have these stakeholder meetings. Most of them were unaware of legislation that was proposing the increase in weights. I would say the conversations were positive. A lot of them were more concerned about the safety of our citizens on the roadway and protecting our infrastructure, especially since we've made so many investments in widening, fixing our roads. They were very concerned about it.
What do you want to see done? Is there a compromise, or do you feel like trucks are too heavy as it is now and you'd like to see those weight limits lowered instead of raised?
Well, I think what a compromise would be for us is to remain at 80,000 pounds and let us work with that. With our vacancy rate as high as it is at the Department of Public Safety, we just